Hello and welcome to another edition of You Can Get There From Here. I'm Dr. Joel Moore, Chair of the Department of Communication and Digital Media Production at the University of Central Missouri, and it's my pleasure every week to get to sit down and visit with some of our alumni. We talk to some who graduated in digital media production, others who graduated with a degree in communication studies, and even some who got their master's degree. Today, we get to talk to one of them. Say hello to Katie Modlin. Katie, great to have you on the show. How are you?
I'm doing so well. Thank you for having me.
Well, I'm so glad to have you in here. You know, Katie was a student of mine in media management or media promotions. I can't.
Both, actually.
Both. Which one was
Yes.
first?
I did media promotions first.
Okay, so we were in media promotions. I got to know Katie. She came to us from Fort Hays State, correct? Where she
Yes.
got her undergrad and then decided she wanted to come here and get her master's degree. And I just became a huge Katie Modlin fan right from the get-go. She was so excited, so enthusiastic. She had to do a teaching demonstration and just knocked it out of the park. So, Katie, I'm so glad you're here. Tell us what you've been up to since you walked across that stage and got that hood.
Thanks. Well, the teaching demonstration was my favorite part because now I'm teaching first grade. I went through teaching summer school. I got my certification in teaching, and now I've just been teaching ever since, and I love it.
That's a little bit different than college. So what do you see as the big difference? Because I will admit my wife was a kindergarten or is a kindergarten teacher. She taught some first grade, and we would come home at the end of the day and talk about our days and challenges we'd faced and victories we'd faced, and we always ended up laughing at the end of it, going, you know, it doesn't sound that different.
Yes. No, that's the funny part. So during my graduate experience, I was a GA. You know all that, top public speaking, all the things. So going from teaching college down to the elementary level, they actually are very similar in that they just want to learn, but the way that you approach these audiences are a little bit different. You know, you can be a little bit more blunt and straightforward with the college students, where you have to sugarcoat things a little more with a little and give them a little bit more explanation. There's always a why involved.
Yeah, yeah. I always joked because I would come into class and I go, all right, friends, we're going to do this. And my wife would go, that's what I call my first graders is my friends. I'm like, well, you are my friends. You know, it's a different thing. They're different challenges in their own way. Yeah. But at the same time, like you said, I love the way you put that. They all want to learn. They all want to grow, right?
Yes, yes, absolutely.
So what have you taken from your college experience, both, you know, when you were at Fort Hays and then especially working on your master's degree here? What techniques have you found really translate between those two groups, between the adults and the kiddos?
Yeah, I would say the biggest thing is making sure that at the end of the day, you treat everyone like a human. You know, you're talking to them like they're people, because no matter if they're 6 or 19, they still are humans. They still have feelings. They still have, all the things inside of them that they want to feel validated, want to learn, all the things like that. So, really learning all of the skills on communication, hierarchy of communication, how it kind of works and flows and just inside the mind a little bit was huge for me going into teaching. I always think about the nonverbal piece of communication. And a lot of times with these 6 year olds, like you can't tell what they need. They don't know how to communicate what they need because they're 6. They haven't learned.
Yeah, they don't have
And
a master's degree yet.
exactly. They don't. They don't. So reading a lot of those nonverbal cues is huge. I also look at behavior management a lot of the time because, that's something that even through getting my teaching certification, like it's a real experience. And having that background in communication is huge with behavior management because at the end of the day, all behavior is communication on some level. And so being able to kind of read that and go through that, having had that experience to kind of learn about it and then see it in the real world has been huge for me.
Wow, that is so awesome hearing just the way you're able to translate that because, you know, when we talk about elementary, we're talking pedagogy. When we're talking adults, we're talking andragogy. And you know, as we're sitting here talking, I'm thinking to myself, maybe I do have it a little easier than an elementary teacher because I'm dealing with adults all day.
Yeah,
My colleagues are adults, my students are adults, my administrators are adults.
yeah,
You're dealing with both. You're getting those
yes.
first graders, but then you're also partnering with other teachers. So, do you find yourself having to switch tactics or switch the way you discuss things?
Oh,
I listen to Heidi and her colleagues talk, and I'm like, you're talking to adults now, right?
yeah,
Have you
yeah.
had to make that switch?
Oh, all the time, all the time. You go from talking in your little kid voice, you're okay, friends, that's not a safe choice, things like that, to talking to your colleagues, but then also talking to your administrator, talking to central office, talking to parents. I mean, there's so much in education, especially at the elementary level, that you don't think about how much you're going to actually have to communicate and how much you're going to have to switch between different types and different strategies of communication throughout your day, even just an hour. It's a lot. So there's definitely a lot of switching, but that's kind of what keeps it fun a little bit. You get the littles, and then you get the professional world, and you get the friendships between colleagues, you get the relationships and partnering between parents. It's all a beautiful circle that's really fun to kind of work in.
So we talk a lot in our public speaking classes, which you taught as a graduate assistant, about being an audience-centered speaker. And I'm kind of getting a sense that that really is important.
It's so important. When you actually asked me to do this interview, I was thinking a lot about how communication kind of ties into education. And I think the biggest thing that I landed on was the audience, because you go from talking to parents who, have been through it. Some of them, this is their first kid. Some of them, this is their second. Some of them, this is their fifth. And so you have to kind of explain things differently to each of them. So not only there's an audience there, but then you get down to the students, and you have to think about their prior knowledge. What do they already have schema in? What do they need schema in? How can I create an engaging lesson that's going to keep 6-year-olds involved? Get them talking? How am I going to get them learning in a hands-on way? How am I going to communicate all of this knowledge that I have in my brain out to them in a way that they can understand? So that audience piece is honestly huge. And then moving on from the kids to advocating with other teachers, advocating to administration, on behalf of the kids or on behalf of the school, things like that. There is so much that you have to consider when you are talking to different people in this world, not only in education, but in life as well, but especially in education, because there is a lot to think about with that. So just kind of keeping in mind who you're talking to at different times, and making sure that you're, again, being mindful that everyone's human, everyone has feelings, all of those kinds of things as well.
Well, I knew, like I said, that when you did your demonstration, because for those who don't know, if you take a 4,000 level class, we cross list those as 5,000, so that an undergrad might take media promotions, and then they really liked it. They want to do it again. They want to get a little bit more out of it. So they'll take it again as a graduate student. But as a graduate student, there's a little bit extra. You maybe have another research project. Maybe we have you teach a section, something like that. And Katie taught a section for us. And I knew right away the way you put your lesson together, the way you delivered it. I'm like, yeah, she's going to be pretty good at this. We need to get her teaching our public speaking. Did you come in knowing you wanted to go into education, or was that something that just developed as you got here?
So that's actually a great question. When I first started college, when I graduated high school, I didn't really know what I wanted to do, but I thought it sounded kind of cool to be an English teacher, and a high school English teacher, which was just kind of out of the blue. I liked writing. I
A little
liked
different from a kindergarten teacher
right,
or first
right,
grade
much
teacher.
different. Yeah, much different. But so I started going to classes, but I just kept thinking to myself, I want more out of an educational experience than just learning about education. So I didn't want to, limit myself in that I could only teach English for the rest of my life. So that's when I had taken an organizational communication class, and I kind of fell in love with the idea of communication. So then I got it in my undergrad, and then I continued on to UCM for my graduate degree. And at that point, I didn't know what I wanted to do. I just knew that I wanted to have options, and I wanted to gain a wealth of knowledge that I could use really anywhere, that I can kind of use applicable skills anywhere. So then once I started the kind of teaching demonstration piece. I think I had another teaching demonstration, another class, and I was like, oh, I kind of like this a little bit. Then you had recommended that I look into teaching as a graduate student, so I did that. And then I went and taught fourth grade summer school and
Oh, I
loved
forgot
that. And
about
so
that.
all, I know, so it all just kind of trickled from there. And then, so I got my love of teaching from doing the grad assistantship. That was honestly a dream for me. That's where I kind of fell in love with the whole idea that I can transfer knowledge and help people and build their confidence. That was, I think, the biggest thing with public speaking for me was seeing people come in who hated speaking, but then they left giving a 5-minute speech. Like that was huge.
I
Um,
love that when that happens. Isn't that great?
yes, yes, it was so great to see that feeling. And then I fell in love with the littles during summer school, and so I was like, you know what? This is where I'm supposed to be. So I honestly attribute a lot of that to you asking me to do that look into the graduate assistantship because that seriously was huge for me. Not only that, but then I met some of my best friends there too. So
Well, and somebody who got their undergrad in communication, and first of all, I guess what led you to UCM versus another school for your master's? But then also, I'm glad we got you because a lot of people will go that undergrad route and decide, I think I want to teach, and they'll go do an MAT, a Master of Art in Teaching. You
Mhm.
chose to go the communication route and build those skills even more, and then go get the certification to teach.
Yeah.
What led to some of those decisions?
Yeah, so I actually looked into doing an MAT, but I just felt like something wasn't done with the communication. Like I felt like I still had more to learn. So then I started looking and I really wanted to be close to home because I'm from, the Parkville area and Fort Hayes was 4 hours away. And I was ready to be a little bit closer. And I had a bunch of friends at UCM, and so they were like, "You should look at it." And I started looking into your communication department, and the things that really stuck out to me were the staff to student ratio, like that was huge. And just kind of some of the things that you all do there, like the different opportunities that you offer for like different research, like there's staff in everything really is what I kind of saw just from looking on the website is that like if I wanted to learn about anything there was somebody for something. So I really loved that everyone was doing research in different areas so that I knew that I would learn a lot. And then the second I reached out, I had gotten an email back right away from Hillary, and right from that moment on I had just felt absolutely welcomed in there, and I was like there's no point in even looking elsewhere because I feel home here. So I was like it was welcomed in with open arms, and I never turned back after that. And it was absolutely the best experience I could have asked for.
Well, I'm glad you felt the family here because we were glad to have you be a part of it.
Well,
You
thank you.
you touched on this a little bit, talking about working with your littles and everything, taking those communication skills, taking what you developed there. And again, I just can't get enough of how you put that treating everybody like they're an individual and they all have feelings and they all have a need and they all have a want to learn. That kind of makes me think I know the answer to this next question, but I want to hear you talk about it. What is your why? Why do you do what you do?
Yeah, yeah. That's a great question. It all comes from the heart. They talk about teachers a lot of times and how it's really heart work. Like you're in it because of your love of doing it. And so for me, it's watching the transformation of my students. They come in, scared little kindergartners. Basically, they're coming straight out of kindergarten. They're nervous. They come in, but then making them feel loved and feel heard, and then also just watching them grow and be so proud of themselves and feel empowered. That is just amazing to me is to get to see like now I'm getting emotional. I'm not gonna cry, but getting to watch them, find their loves and watch them feel like they have a place in this world and that they can do something, even just at 6, 7 years old, like that is huge for me. And making sure that they grow in different areas, reading, writing, math, all those things, but especially grow in who they are and who they want to be and what they love, what they're passionate about, things like that. That is so important to me. So really, I've always loved helping people, and this was kind of that perfect profession because I could have that impact, even if it's just in one student, even if one student is just impacted, like that's huge for me. But watching them come back the next year and give hugs and tell me how they're doing and all the things, like it's just amazing to see them transform and grow and evolve into these awesome little humans. It's amazing.
Yeah, that's kind of what led me to academia was seeing my wife come home every day and hearing her stories of talking about the
Yes.
kids and the light bulb coming on. I thought, I
Yep.
want that. I want to be a part of that. I'm not
Yes,
wired to be a first grade or kindergarten teacher, but I could do it at the college level, and I was comfortable with
absolutely.
that.
Absolutely. Hey, there's impact everywhere. It does not matter what age level.
So what is next for Katie Modlin? You have a little something coming up here pretty big, it sounds like, but go ahead.
Well, on a personal level, I'm gonna get married, so super
Yay!
excited about that. That'll be so fun. That's huge. Um, and then on a professional level, I'm currently working on my education specialist. So come April, I will be have my educational leadership degree, my educational specialist in educational leadership. So essentially, I could be a K-12 principal, which is super exciting. I don't see myself doing that anytime soon. I love the classroom, but I've just gained more knowledge in education there. So that's been awesome to just kind of dive into. So I really see myself continuing to teach for a while, and then maybe moving into more leadership roles down the road, maybe a coaching position, things like that. I don't know, but I love keeping my options open and just seeing what opportunities present themselves.
Well, the Katie I know will excel in whatever area it is, whether it's coaching, whether it's administration. I like the idea that you're going to teach there for a little bit longer, at least,
Yes,
because I think the best administrators have been doing it. They've been in the
I
classroom. They've got a feel.
yes,
So
I
that's
agree.
awesome.
Thank you.
So my last couple of questions I ask everybody, because you've been out there, you're doing it. What advice do you have for a current UCM student as they're going through the program and they're looking to get a degree in communication and then take it out into the world? And what advice would you have for a potential student of UCM? And since you came with your master's degree, say somebody who's coming out with a bachelor's and they're looking at UCM for their graduate program.
Mhm. Yeah, for sure. So for current students, I would say don't be afraid to get involved, whether that is an on-campus job, whether that is the debate program, whether that is, something outside of the university. Just get involved in the town, get involved in the university, find something to do there, build those connections. But I would also say don't be afraid to talk with your professors and actually build that professional relationship with them, because truly I feel like that is why I got the most out of my UCM experience, is because I built that relationship with my professors. And I mean, even now 2 years later, I mean, you're reaching out to me to do this. It's awesome. And so I think that just like building those connections, because you're going to learn more, you're going to grow more if you take it on a personal level. You know what I'm saying? If you take ownership of your
Yeah.
education and you really push for it and you really get to know the people that are going to help you where you're going to go, I think that that's so important. And then for potential students who are looking, I think, again, the biggest thing is that UCM, the communication department, the whole team there, DMP, everything is such a family atmosphere that you really can't get anywhere else. I mean, I'm on my third college, and that's the only college that I've really experienced that true family where I have felt like not only was I taking my own learning personal, but all of my professors were taking it personal as well. Like they wanted me to learn, they wanted me to grow, they wanted me to excel, they wanted me to be a happy human who was able to do whatever I wanted to. And so I think that that is the biggest thing about UCM. So you'll get amazing, amazing academics there. You'll learn so much there, but then you'll also leave with a family. And I think that that's so important.
Well, it's a partnership and we all have to do it together. So, Katie, thank you for being on. Thank you for teaching. We need teachers. We need good teachers who really care. And your kids are so lucky to have you. I'm so glad that they have you.
Well, thank you. I love having them. I feel like I'm lucky to have them, honestly.
Well,
I
it's
learn
been,
every day.
yeah, yeah. Well, that's lifelong learning, right?
Yes, absolutely. Absolutely.
Well, it's been great having you on. Thanks for being here and good luck with the upcoming nuptials.
Thank you so much, Joe.
And thanks all of you for tuning in today. Remember, you can catch every episode on our YouTube channel through the UCM Media Network. That's youtube.com/UCMMN. You can also listen on Spotify. Special thanks to Jake Mager for creating our theme music. And again, this is Dr. Joe Moore reminding you, you can get there from here. Have a great day.